got some questions here for you, Richard. I've compiled some from fans and from myself.
Oh,
First off, how's your morning going?
it's good. Well, it's the evening here. I'm in London.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Very cool. Well, let's go over some questions right quick here. Your character's name's Frank Kessler and is a quite distinct figure and altered by that. What were the first things you did to inhabit this character, and how did that evolve during the shoot?
Well, I mean, I have a whole series of things that I do, which I won't bore you with, but in terms of when I work on any character, whether he's a politician in a post-apocalyptic universe with some very firm beliefs to a psycho killer in something else or whatever. So I do my usual thing and I actually try and ground. I mean, in a nutshell, part of it is grounding him in a kind of reality, which is fun when you science fiction because you really got a lot of room to create a reality, but you need it to be real. And I loved the script in that when I first read it, I sensed these characters were going to be real characters and talking to Timo and
Mhm.
uh, he reinforced that idea that it wasn't going to be unreal. I wanted it to be real. And it was easy to kind of find inspiration for him in modern day politicians, shall we say. People who firmly believe they're right and are willing to go to any lengths to prove they're right and do what they think is right because they're coming from a place of genuine, what they believe is best for everyone. Um, even though we may disagree. Or history
And I got a
say, oh,
yeah,
that's probably not right.
right. Well, I've got a question kind of parlaying into that. Altered explores a world of genetic enhancement and social stratification. How do you see Frank Kessler fitting into that world, and what did you personally find compelling about that dynamic when you signed on?
No, well, I mean, it was partly that, you talk social dynamic. I mean, what's really happening in a way in that in Altered, partly is there's an us and them. There's the specials and there's genetics, and they've grown very far apart. I mean, you're one or the other, you're in these and and there's a kind of polarization. There's this, unwillingness to sort of look and discuss and see the other. And to me, that's kind of something that's happened sadly here, over the last or worldwide, really, over the last decade or so, is this inability to talk to each other and really look at the other side and listen to them. And I feel like one of the things that made me want to sign on to this project is it
Right,
touches on that. And Frank is a good example of someone who takes advantage of that almost for power and control and his belief of what's right. And partly driven too, what also I liked, he's driven by kind of a love for his son. So there's a personal aspect. He's not just some psychopath who's manipulating people or making this decision. I mean, he's a father, and there's, really, for me, quite a powerful scene in the middle of the film or towards the end of the film, I guess, with Tom and I, and in the hospital, where, in the relationship
yeah,
with the two of them, which is kind of
yeah.
central to the movie.
Which I got a question pertaining to that. Well, in that here later on, but when you arrived on set for Altered, were there opportunities for you personally to offer input into the character? And could you give you an example and share your contribution that changed or enriched the role if you had any contribution kind of to the story of your character?
Oh, yeah, loads. I mean, I love Timo for that. He's a really
Mhm.
open director and very much wants to work with the actors. Even though he's very visual, he's also very concerned about the performances. So he was, from the outset, was very open to any suggestions. I arrived, we obviously created the look to an extent, cut my hair or whatever we did, and also just sitting with him. We were all in this hotel in Kazakhstan. It was 20 below, which is actually a heat wave. Normally it's about 40 or 60 below. They kept saying, "Oh, you're so lucky it's a heat wave." I was like, "Oh my God." Um, in the winter in Kazakhstan. So I didn't venture out a whole lot and spent a lot of time with Timo, I'd meet up with him at the bar at the hotel, and we would sit and just go through the script and through my scenes at least, obviously. And I would come in, I go, oh, I think this or this, or maybe I would say that instead. And he was very open to it, or he'd be like, no, I think you stick to what I wrote, or whatever. But it very much was collaborative thanks to him being so open to doing that, which I think shows in all the performances. I can't speak for the others.
Does.
I don't know whether they were. I would assume, they had, definitely similar interactions with him. And I think the performances are very, very good and very, very real in the film.
I agree with you on that, which brings up, another question, about filming the film. We're talking about that. What was the most challenging scene for you as Frank Kessler, and how did you overcome it? Or did you working on this film teach you anything new about your craft or about yourself?
Um, I mean, I didn't find anything like overly challenging as much as, what was challenging was, I mean, only, if anything's challenge is to really try and, because, Frank could just be the bad guy, and I think the film would suffer if he's just some bad guy. And so it was very important that the scenes uh, with Tom, where you get a real sense of his relationship with Tom and his love for Tom, that that's clear, and that really resonates in terms of the film. So it was difficult in that I knew they were important scenes, and that I had to make sure it was all there, and the performance was. Otherwise, he was just a kind of dick, you know, um, senator, who just with a megalomaniac, crazy man. Um, so that was challenging, but I feel like it worked. Yeah.
The film looks aesthetically amazing from it's
Oh,
kind of like I
incredible.
was
Yeah.
talking, yeah, I
I
was talking
mean,
with
all
Timo.
around in terms of the work, in terms of the production crew and the art departments and the makeup and special effects. I mean, it's just super, really, really just super work from everyone. It looks great. That's why I love post-apocalyptic films, and that you have so much freedom, and it's great when you see artistic directors really take that and do something with it. And Timo's a very visual director, so no one better to be at the helm.
But it brings up a question talking about the relationships with the cast and crew. This is another question. Playing Frank means interacting with many other characters in this heightened sci-fi context. Could you describe a memorable moment or connection with one of your co-stars or with the director of On Altered and how that influenced your performance? Is there a specific one or two things that you could kind
No,
of
I
really
mean,
remember?
working with Tom, I mean, it was mostly the scenes in particular with Tom that I thought were, and I think it's just he's so present and he's such a good actor and he works so hard on the film. I mean, he was in almost every day. He has many physical things to do. And he was always there with a real smile on his face and a real commitment to the part and to the film. Which made it easier. I think it just made my work, just so much easier once within like 20 minutes of, well, not even less, 10 minutes of being in a room with him starting to work, you could tell the kind of person he was and how committed he was to the film. Um, and it kind of makes it easier then. He's not some young star who's, just doing another film for the paycheck at all or anything like that. He's completely, in fact, the opposite to that. He's incredibly hardworking, very talented actor. And that I think that helps a lot for me because it just makes my job easy.
He's done a lot of stuff, of course, Harry Potter, and this is his first actual interesting role for him. He's like disabled in this film, and he's
Yeah,
also kind of like a superhero character. Just curious,
yeah.
one question for me, is this your first kind of forte in like a superhero sci-fi? And if not, like what kind of things have that you enjoyed that's unique about this particular project?
I mean, surprisingly, considering I've done so many genre films, I don't think I've done a boatload of sci-fi. I made Mandalorian and a few different things, uh, but it was, like, I mean, and I don't want to repeat myself. I mean, just to me, it's the ability of sci-fi to explore other things. It was so much fun to do. And the kind of freedom it gives you in some ways, because even though you try and build in reality, it's kind of fun to have machines that don't really exist, or do things you don't normally do in the real world. So all those things were really exciting. Yeah, so I do love that. I'll definitely do it another sci-fi again for sure.
Would love to see you in one. That's awesome. And you said you did the Mandalorian. What character were you in that? Just curious, right quick.
Was in the second season. I played his name was Valen Hess. He was a
Well, the
Empire.
Imperial officer. Is he
That's
Imperial
it.
officer?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bill
that was
Burr. Yeah,
great. Bill Burr got him.
he was
That's
great. Yeah,
awesome.
it was a really great experience.
That was a great, that character is real quick in that episode. Bill Burr had a lot of character development, in a very short film period of
Yeah,
episodes, which I thought was very interesting from a character standpoint. Speaking
yeah, he
of
did a
character
great job.
standpoints, at the end of the day, what do you hope audiences will take away from Frank Kessler's journey in Altered, and how do you hope that your performance will resonate beyond the screen? Powerful question.
I would say, I mean, more than anything, the question authority, um, for people to question authority and um, question people who seem that they absolutely have the answer. To ask yourself, did they really have the answer? To be open-minded, for people to be more open-minded, and generally just to be more open-minded with each other, and especially those people that have completely opposing views to you. Don't be like Frank. Don't get stuck in this idea that you have all the answers and you are right, because
Yeah,
none of us are. It's more
one nice art.
complex.
Sure. Well, the film comes out, I believe, on November 21st and on VOD soon, right?
I think it comes out on, at select cinemas and
It's like 10 minutes.
also on VOD. Yep. On
Are they
Friday.
going to have a premiere or anything that you know of, or anything coming up that
No, I mean, I
maybe
hardly
Hollywood?
ever go to premieres. I'm always somewhere filming something
Either.
else. I
Yeah,
don't
on
think I've
that.
been to a premiere for decades. I think I get invited a lot, but I'm always in some obscure place like Kazakhstan shooting something.
How
Um,
was that Kazakhstan? I
it
know they
was
do a lot of filming
really,
there.
it was amazing. My agent said, "Oh, it's in Kazakhstan." I was like, "Oh my God, I never filmed there." Um, and I was a little like, "Oh, what's it going to be like?" And
Mhm.
it was slightly disorganized getting the flight organized for my trip there. I remember we didn't book it until about the day before I flew. I mean, they were
Oh,
trying to,
wow.
and I thought, oh, this isn't a good sign. It might be chaos. I'm going to be stuck in Kazakhstan on a chaotic shoot with disorganized crew, and I landed, and honestly, it was probably the smoothest, easiest shoot experience I've had in some
Mm,
time. They were incredibly professional, incredibly polite, lovely people. Um, and it was just from start to finish, just a wonderful experience. It really was. And Kazakhstan is a really interesting country. Astana, where we shot,
mm,
um, is a unique looking city. It has these very modern buildings
mm.
pop up all over the place, and it's often used, I think, in sci-fi because it has, I mean, they're
Yeah.
crazy looking buildings, but they're all amidst these post-Soviet kind of buildings that are, shall we say, not so beautiful. And then
Right.
all of a sudden, in the middle of these post-Soviet buildings, there'll be this bizarre science fiction looking architectural masterpiece, a modern architectural masterpiece, and then back to some brutalist Soviet architecture, and then back to another. It's
Wow.
extraordinary. Yeah, it
Yeah, I
was
like
fun.
the it kind of got that. I was talking with Timo yesterday, and he says it looks like biopunk, cyberpunk, but it kind of gives that kind of when you go to like the specials, that kind of a rundown, kind of horror, but area. I guess that's heavily incorporated in the film, I believe, correct?
Yeah, I love the whole cyberpunk thing and that look. I mean, they did such a good job at the way they designed it. I mean, it really, and the characters and all the smaller characters that you see running around. I mean, it's just, and all the different choices of what they decided the genetics would have. It was really thought out very well.
just curious, this came to the top of my head. Did you do any research on any particular historical figures or any previous, characters in film that kind of prepped you for this role or like it kind of
No,
inspired
I
you?
didn't. I think it's just a combination of so much experience. I didn't
Mhm.
necessarily have any, obviously, because there's not really any historical thing to do. So it wasn't, I didn't have to do some deep research in some period, but a lot of it's, and I was, I did, or I'm actually playing Aryan Brotherhood guide in another TV series, and sort of made me look into, the process of that, made me do a lot of research into the
Mhm.
Nazi history and so into the minds of um, especially the Nazi leaders, as well as even the people of Germany who signed on to this idea that was fed into them.
This
It
kind
made
of
me
does parlay a little bit
fascinated
into the
by
film.
why
Yeah.
people exactly people become upset, like they think they're right. They go, okay, this is right, and obviously the results of that was, I mean, beyond horrific. I mean, with the Holocaust, I mean, incredible from somebody thinking they were doing the right thing or believing they were doing the right thing, and then other people being convinced this was the right thing. It's like, how could that happen? Is so some work on that, studying on that kind of worked for this character as well, because he firmly believes what he's doing is right. Um, even though we look at it from the outside and think, I don't know if it is. It's not really morally correct in this character. And obviously, in terms of the Nazis, we know it's insane to
Sure.
even believe that could be correct or right, their beliefs. So
Yeah.
yeah.
The film, kind of, without spoiling it, kind of opens up a world of maybe a sequel. Do you think there'll be any continuation in this universe of Alter? There's several people have asked that.
Do I think there'll be? I mean, asking the wrong guy. Should ask Timo yesterday.
That's even, would you like to be a part of a sequel if they done
Oh,
and would
yeah,
develop
of
the character?
course. Absolutely. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think it's a great film. And I think Timo is an amazing director. So, I would love to be a part of it. I think there's a lot more to explore for sure.
For sure. And the
Just
character,
totally
your character especially. Yeah.
yeah.
The wrapping up here right quick, just curious, is there any projects that you'd like to promote or anything that you said you're not going to be any premieres, but based on re-wrapping up for Altered, is there any
I have so many,
timelines or?
I have loads coming out. I've got Mayor of Kingstown streaming at the moment, Sisu 2
Okay.
coming out, and of course
Very cool.
Altered. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a bunch coming out after that. It's so many I've forgotten. There's some things that I've shot. I thought, is that ever coming out? But I think it is. So it's quite. I just
Nice.
go. I have so many kids. I just go from job to job. It's the only sleep I get is when I'm in a
Mm.
hotel room in Kazakhstan, as opposed to from.
Wow. Yeah, that's got to
Yeah,
have been I've never been to Kazakhstan myself. Would you recommend checking that place out? I guess, correct?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It takes a while to get to, but it's definitely worth it.
How long was the flight from there? Just curious.
So
Where did
from
you come from? How?
London, it was
Okay.
like you take two flights to get there. I had to fly through Frankfurt, I think. So it took like 8 hours or something altogether.
It's
But I
not
mean,
too bad. Yeah.
that's it's quite a long way.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Probably
Well, I
fly to
want to,
Frankfurt. That's about 8 or 9 hours, and then another
that's like a
6 hours.
9 hours, I think. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on today to talk to me about Altered. I previewed the film. I can't give any spoilers; it's not out yet. But I
No,
really,
I don't
really
think so.
enjoyed the film. Yeah, I enjoyed the film, and I think it's something that really will resonate not just with sci-fi and cyberpunk fans, but just fans in general of a world. It's got a hopeful vibe to it, which I really like as well. And I think it's something that really will. It really does stand out with the science fiction and just in general as a film and its whole.
Yeah, thanks, Owen. I appreciate it. Yeah,
No
I
problem, man.
agree.
Well, I hope you have a beautiful evening, and I look forward to seeing you in more projects and more things to come.